Alright, so I thought I'd do a little disc review of the Mage Tower that I completed a couple of nights ago. Sort of like, unscripted review of my strategy and how I went about beating the fight. 'Cause it took me about 100 goes, but yeah, so essentially what the fight encapsulates is it's basically a big pattern, and what you want to try and do is figure out the pattern. It took me a good 70 or so pulls to actually realize the pattern and what you actually had to do in the fight, because I walked into it blind. But yeah, you basically you're on rotation of using your fear and using a defensive or a combination of two defensives to keep alive. But yeah, to start off, it's a 14-minute fight, so it's quite long. It's as long as Sylvanas, and you want to be bringing obviously potions, food, all of that good stuff. But I'm pretty sure that the Legion pots are better like value. So I just use Shadowlands pots, but that's fine. I just wanted to prove that it could be done in Shadowlands gear. An important note is I use the Tough Trinket, which is from Castle Nathria, obviously, for the cheat death. I basically use that as another defensive. Other people have been using other trinkets, but I felt this was the most reliable method for me. So yeah, basically it's a phase fight. Well, not a phase fight, it's one phase, but the same thing happens. So you fight the worm and you fight a Tauren. The whole strategy is to bring them down almost equally, to kill them at the same time, because if you kill one or the other, it enrages. So yeah, well, pretty much what happens first is they're both up together, you are fighting them, and the worm goes underneath the ground and he starts the next phase of basically, well, the worm goes underground, the Tauren starts casting Earthquake, he starts spawning worms around the room. You want to basically kill those worms as fast as possible, but while you're killing them, he's going to be putting a totem down that spawns pretty much randomly around the room, that it stuns you for 4 seconds if you don't kill it. It's one-shottable, and it's also hittable by like Divine Star and AoE abilities, so make sure you use that to your advantage. So yeah, basically what I do is when this phase happens, you want to bait the snake, because he basically goes like where you're going and where you're standing. You want to bait him through the 3 rocks in the middle of the room, because that breaks his carapace down. And yeah, so basically if you can do that in the first 2 or 3 like phases of this, it's super efficient. As a reminder as well, since it's a long fight, you can lust on pull. Just do all your bursts and PIs and stuff on pull, just to destroy the Tauren down a bit. It isn't entirely necessary, because I didn't lust on pull because I was just trying to save gold for my my lust drums. But yeah, you can basically do that. But yeah, you basically just want to slowly keep chipping down. Now the important thing is that you want to save your fear for during this phase. So while you're in this phase, this is where your fear becomes important to use. See, I basically use it now, so you can use it on the worms, or basically, yeah, in that phase. Now what you want to do every time this phase happens, you want to bait the Tauren to the middle of the rocks. Obviously I'm baiting here just to kill the rocks, and then as you're baiting him over, you want to dot up like 1 or 2 of the snakes, because this is also quite a mana efficient fight too, right? You do run out of mana if you're not efficient with your mana. So basically what you do is you just use a couple dots as you're walking over, and then the snake will pop up, you bait the snake, you move to the left or move to the right, then you move back in. Now, as you move back in, you want to cast Mindseer on the Tauren and just slowly burn down the ads. Now, while you're casting Mindseer, there's going to be a totem coming out, and there's going to be his Fellburst coming out. So this is when you got to fair. Now, every time you fair in this phase, like this, there'll be a totem and a fair. You want to save your fair for that Fellburst, okay? Now, you basically move back in. I'd advise only using your penance when you're moving, okay? So don't use it while you're hard casting. All you want to do is just dot up, smite, Divine Star, try and aim your Divine Star through the snakes, and then yeah, just basically keep doing this. Now, after this is the second Fellburst. This is where you want to use a mixture of Desperate Prayer, Tuft together. So basically you want to use Desperate Prayer and another cooldown, which is I use Tuft, obviously. Desperate Prayer and Tuft. You also want to be running the Masochism talent for the 10% DR and self-healing. It's obviously like a must-have on this fight. Yep, as you can see here, I start dotting them up. I do a little bit of burn damage. I bait them through the rocks. It's not necessarily, but yeah, he also has 9 stacks of Carapace, right? So you want to go through the rocks at least 9 times, like as a focus point for the start of the fight. And then you can not really worry about doing the rocks anymore, because it doesn't like do any extra damage increases on them. But yeah, so yeah, you basically just want to keep baiting and slowly killing the snakes. The snakes are obviously important to kill, like you do have to kill them, but they're not necessarily, you know, very hard. Now, when you're Desperate Prayer and Tuft are on cooldown, you want to use Pain Sup or Barrier, or yeah, pretty much any other defensive you have, which is basically you just roll through a Barrier and a Pain Sup outside of your Tuft and Desperate Prayer cooldowns. Yeah, so also as the fight goes on, more worms will spawn. So at the start of the fight, there'll only be 2 worms. As you progress, there'll be eventually, I think, 5 or 6 worms. Now, it does get pretty dicey, but the main strat is using Mindseer effectively and efficiently, because it really does make it a lot easier. When I was first progging for the fight, I was just trying to dot everything and just trying to Divine Star, which is a viable strat, obviously. But just Mindseer the mana efficiency and the damage, and it's actually a lot easier just to AoE them down instead of tab targeting. But yeah, yeah. So another thing is that the worm always does a Sonic Scream, right? So you always want to watch your casts, and while he's doing the cast, that is when you press your Solace and your Divine Star, because obviously it doesn't interrupt your casts. You want to constantly be dotting. It doesn't matter if you have the Tauren down like a bit further than the snake, that's fine. You basically want to get the Tauren down a little bit more anyway, and then towards the end, that's when you want to start, you know, slowly chipping the worm down to you know, match the HP of the other one. Yeah, so yeah, progression fight, you keep going, always save your fair, always kill the totem. But yeah, yeah, what else? With your Mind Blasts, because it absorbs damage, right? You can kind of like not necessarily cheese it, but see, as he comes up to, there's always a Sonic Scream, so you always want to watch for that. Then there's a Fellburst, then there's a Totem. It's basically always this order, so it's pretty much a pattern, right? Every time you find the pattern, it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, you just slowly, as you dip from the Fellburst, you know, you're gonna drop very low a lot of the time. You obviously want to Shadow Mend yourself a couple times, and then the rest of the damage you just want to do atonement healing through damage. Yeah, so as this moves through, you Divine Star through all the eggs, you bait them through, then you just move them back to the middle and just Mindseer. It's a lot easier than just the smite and tab target and shit. Yep, and then you just move out of the AoE, you fair. Oh, you also want to make sure you're dispelling the dot as well. So yeah, there's basically like five mechanics. There's a dispellable dot that is like a must. You basically need to do that. There's a totem you have to kill. There's a Sonic Scream AoE interrupt that you have to obviously dodge and not cast. And there's the Fellburst, which is the most deadly part of the fight. That is what you want to use your defensives on. Multitude of 2. Yeah. Now, from what I gathered, you kind of want to have your barrier and paints up towards the end of the fight ready. At least one of the two, and rotate them, because as the fight goes down, it's basically HP based, right? So when he starts going down to about 30-20%, I think every maybe 10% increment, this is just theory crafting, he basically hits you a lot fucking harder. So yeah, but anyway, there's about 5 snakes here, as you can see, and basically rolling through the same pattern. Oh, also that's what you can use. You can use Rapture as well. That's like your another cooldown. It's probably like your best cooldown, because it obviously gives you effective HP on top of your normal HP. But yeah, keep going. You also want to save your lust towards the end of the fight. Obviously, if I used it on the pool, mine would be coming off cooldown right about now. But it's not that imperative, just as long as you use it at the end of the fight, because I only use one lust because I was greedy with gold. But yeah, so you're basically just using PI and Shadow Fiend off cooldown in these phases. I probably should have used it here, but it's fine. If you fall behind, I guess you can use it in this phase, but I think it's just better to use your PIs and Shadow Fiends like when the snake comes up. But yeah, see, Mindseer is just so effective here. It just really is. But yeah, always keep an eye on that totem. It's a little bit hard to see sometimes. Sometimes it spawns like under the ridge, and you can't target it unless you actually are in line of sight of it. So it's pretty cringe. But yeah, always using your penance as you move. Snake comes up, you use a scream, you dodge the scream. There's probably a totem that comes out. Yep. Then he starts his Foul Rush, the Foul Blast, which is about now. Should be about now. Yep, that's for you. Desperate Prayer, Feather. I dropped very low there. That was, I still had my feather buff, but see, that's why I think the feather, the tuft trinket is so valuable in this fight, because you're constantly being brought low, and a cheat death is so invaluable in this fight. So I don't know how other people have done it with other trinkets, but I found it so easy to do it. But yeah, so getting towards the end here, it's very dicey. You basically need to play this perfect, because the damage output at the very end here is fucking huge, and you obviously want to kill these at the two bosses at the not the very same time, but basically in a 5-second window, right? So you're constantly checking the HP of the two mobs. Obviously I'm staggering them down 8%, 6% kind of thing. This is where you would ultimately lust. You basically always want to keep yourself above 90 to 100% HP as well for the Foul Burst. Now I almost die here because I didn't see the totem, it was behind me or some shit. But yeah, I got a bit monk ass, but I was focused and I did it. But yeah, so this is basically the last worm phase. I keep calm, I bait him to the left, then I start my Mindseer. Easy burn down. I'm really careful not to kill the Tauren. Okay, the biggest thing is not killing the Tauren in this phase. The first time I got here, I killed the Tauren, and the snake come up and they fucking one-shot me. So yeah, don't do that. Just make sure you keep him alive. So when the snake comes up, you can kill the snake and the Tauren together. Yep. So basically comes up. I'm constantly tab targeting here. I know that the fair's coming out, so I got 10% mana, but I'm sweet. I got my Rapture. Got Paints up. I got Rapture, and then yeah, basically I do it there. But yeah, I was fucking very excited. But
Blizzard?
Yeah.
Best Disc Priest AU. You can suck my fucking cock.
Yeah, that's the fight in a nutshell, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of input of my my input of the fight and how to do it. Any other tips? I guess you can use cheese socket gear with Burning Crusade gear. That'll give you extra stats, but I just wanted to prove a point of you can do it in Shadowlands gear, like a lot of people haven't been doing, I guess. Something good. But yeah, that's basically the fight. Probably not the best compilation of a written out guide of it, but just my thoughts and live impressions of the fight. It's very fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It was I enjoyed it as much as Sylvanas, to be honest. Just proccing the fight and learning it blind, and yeah, it was a good fight. So yeah, but anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, enjoy your day. But yeah.